when this arrogant 47-year-old city councilman walked in for a simple parking ticket and threatened to get the judge fired. He had no idea Judge Caprio had been listening to his phone calls for 3 months. But when the judge played back a wiretap recording of the councilman discussing bribes and threats, what happened next didn't just destroy a political career. It exposed a corruption network that reached the highest levels of Providence city government. I'm warning you right now, what this elected official said when he thought nobody was listening will make your blood boil. And what Judge Caprio does with that evidence will restore your faith that some judges refuse to be intimidated, no matter how much political power you think you have. This isn't just about a parking violation. This is about corruption, abuse of power, and the moment one arrogant politician discovered that threatening a judge is the fastest way to end up in handcuffs. But before we dive into this takedown, less than 3% of you watching are subscribed. Hit that subscribe button, because this story about holding corrupt politicians accountable deserves to reach everyone who believes elected officials should serve the people, not themselves. It's a Tuesday morning in March, and Providence Municipal Court is preparing for another session. But today is different. Today, Judge Frank Caprio isn't just handling routine cases. He's been working with the FBI Public Corruption Unit and the Rhode Island Attorney General's office for 3 months, building a case against one of Providence's most powerful city councilmen. At exactly 10 a.m., the courtroom doors swing open with the kind of authority that makes everyone turn to look. In walks Councilman Anthony "Tony" DeLuca. And this man doesn't just enter a room. He owns it, or at least he thinks he does. DeLuca is 47 years old, dressed in an expensive Italian suit that screams power and money. His salt and pepper hair is perfectly styled. His Rolex presidential gleams on his wrist, and diamond cufflinks catch the courtroom lights. He walks with the swagger of someone who's used to getting his way, someone who believes his political position makes him untouchable. Behind him walks his attorney, Vincent Romano, a high-priced lawyer known for representing Providence's political elite. Romano carries a leather briefcase and the confidence of someone who's gotten powerful clients out of trouble many times before. But here's what DeLuca doesn't know. Sitting in the back row of the courtroom, dressed in plain clothes and looking like just another observer, is FBI Special Agent Catherine Morrison, and in the row behind her, pretending to review case files, is Assistant Attorney General David Chen. They're not here to watch. They're here to arrest. DeLuca makes his way to the defendant's stand with casual arrogance, nodding at a few people in the gallery who he recognizes from city government and business circles. He's fought tickets before, usually with a phone call to someone at City Hall. This should be simple. Councilman Anthony DeLuca, the court clerk announces, her voice carefully neutral. Case number MC 2024-6892, parking in a fire lane at City Hall, fine $200. DeLuca steps forward with a smirk. Your Honor, Councilman Anthony DeLuca, representing Ward 5 on the Providence City Council for the past 12 years. I'm here regarding what I believe is a misunderstanding about designated parking at City Hall. Judge Caprio looks up from his paperwork, and his face remains completely neutral. But those who know him well recognize something in his eyes, a readiness, a sharpness. This isn't going to be routine. Councilman DeLuca, Judge Caprio begins. You're charged with parking in a clearly marked fire lane at City Hall for over 2 hours. Can you explain what happened? DeLuca's smirk widens. Your Honor, as an elected member of the City Council, I have certain operational needs that sometimes require parking in locations that provide immediate access to City Hall. I was attending an emergency budget meeting, and the regular parking was full. The fire lane was the most practical option, given the urgent nature of city business. So you decided that because you're a councilman, fire safety regulations don't apply to you. Your Honor, I think there's a misunderstanding about how city government operations work. Elected officials often need flexibility in these matters to serve constituents effectively. Judge Caprio sets down his pen deliberately. Councilman DeLuca, were you responding to an actual emergency? Fire? Medical crisis? Anything that would justify blocking emergency vehicle access? DeLuca's irritation starts to show. Your Honor, city business is always urgent when you're serving 35,000 constituents. Every meeting I attend is important. That's not what I asked, Councilman. Was there an emergency that justified blocking a fire lane? DeLuca exchanges a glance with his attorney, Romano. and you can see the calculation in his eyes. He's deciding whether to continue with polite excuses or to play his political card. Your Honor, I've been on the city council for 12 years. I've worked with 4 different mayors. I chair the budget committee, which oversees this court's funding. I think we can handle this situation with some mutual understanding of how city government operates. The courtroom goes very quiet. DeLuca has just implied that he controls Judge Caprio's budget and expects preferential treatment because of it. And guys, if you're watching this thinking this politician just made a huge mistake, hit that like button now, because what Judge Caprio is about to reveal will show you exactly why threatening a judge with budget cuts is the worst decision you can make. Judge Caprio's expression doesn't change, but his voice takes on a new edge. Councilman DeLuca, are you suggesting that your position on the budget committee should influence how I handle your parking violation? DeLuca, emboldened by years of getting away with intimidation, doubles down. Your Honor, I'm simply pointing out that we all work for the city. We all have roles to play. The budget committee makes funding recommendations. You preside over this courtroom. Perhaps we can find a resolution that acknowledges both our positions. That sounds like a threat, Councilman. Your Honor. Romano, the attorney, steps in smoothly. My client is simply noting the interconnected nature of city government. There's no threat implied, just an observation about institutional relationships. Judge Caprio leans back in his chair. Councilman DeLuca, let me ask you something. Do you remember a conversation you had on February 15th with Deputy Mayor Richard Santoro? DeLuca's confident expression falters slightly. Your Honor, I have many conversations with city officials. I don't recall specific dates. Let me refresh your memory. Judge Caprio pulls out a file folder. On February 15th at 2:47 p.m., you called Deputy Mayor Santoro from your City Hall office. Do you remember that conversation now? DeLuca's face starts to pale. Your Honor, I'm not sure how that's relevant to a parking ticket. Oh, it's very relevant, Councilman, because in that conversation you discussed something very interesting. Judge Caprio opens the folder and pulls out a transcript. You told Deputy Mayor Santoro, and I quote, Judge Caprio dismissed another one of my tickets last year. If he gives me any trouble this time, I'll make sure his court budget gets cut in half. That old fool needs to remember who controls the money. The courtroom erupts in shocked gasps. DeLuca looks like he's been punched in the stomach. Romano is frantically flipping through his briefcase. Your Honor, DeLuca's voice is shaky now. I don't know where you got that information, but I invoke my right to privacy. There is no right to privacy for conversations about bribing judges or threatening judicial independence, Councilman. Judge Caprio pulls out another document. Agent Morrison, could you join us, please? From the back of the courtroom, FBI Special Agent Morrison stands up and walks forward, pulling out her credentials. The atmosphere in the courtroom immediately shifts from routine to federal investigation. Councilman DeLuca, Judge Caprio continues. For the past 3 months, the FBI has been investigating corruption in Providence city government. You've been under surveillance the entire time. We have wiretap authorization for your office phone, your cell phone, and your City Hall office. What Judge Caprio reveals next will not only destroy DeLuca's political career, but expose a network of corruption involving zoning bribes, contract rigging, and threats against anyone who opposed him. Agent Morrison opens her briefcase and pulls out a thick folder. Your Honor, our investigation has uncovered the following. Between January 2023 and March 2024, Councilman DeLuca accepted approximately $380,000 in bribes from developers and contractors seeking favorable zoning decisions and city contracts. The payments were disguised as consulting fees to a shell company DeLuca created called Urban Planning Advisors, LLC. She pulls out photographs. These are surveillance photos showing Councilman DeLuca meeting with developers and accepting cash envelopes at various restaurants throughout Providence. In exchange for these payments, DeLuca used his position as Budget Committee Chair to influence contract awards and push through zoning variances that benefited his paying clients. But that's not all. Morrison continues. Our wiretaps have also recorded Councilman DeLuca threatening at least 6 different city officials who opposed his corruption, including threatening to cut funding to departments, ruin careers, and in one case, threatened physical harm to a city employee who discovered irregularities in contract bidding. DeLuca is visibly shaking now. The arrogance is completely gone. Your Honor, I want my attorney. You have your attorney right here, Councilman. Judge Caprio's voice is cold. Now let me play you something else you said when you thought nobody was listening. Judge Caprio presses a button on his computer,